Hey viewers, tonight I'm going to show you how to service Suntour XCT forks. I'm going to take them apart, clean them, lube them, and put them all back together and show you the whole process. Now before I get started, I want to ask you to do me a favor. Click the subscribe button and click the little bell because then you get notified when I come out with new videos and you guys can be the very first people to see my newest videos. And I greatly appreciate it. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'll do is remove the wheel. So the next thing I want to do is remove this disc brake caliper here to get it out of the way. So it's just a 5mm bolt here and another one. And then I'm going to snip the zip tie here, connecting the cable here to the bridge. Now I want to remove these little caps here. The non-drive side cap here is just pressed on. It's not like screwed on there, so just get like a flat tip screwdriver here and just carefully pry it up. And it just pops up like that, and the tube down there, it's empty. Now the cap on the drive side is actually an adjuster cap and it's screwed on there. To remove this, you're going to need a special tool. Suntour has these special little wrenches and they're made of plastic. They're pretty cheap. You can find them online. But they come in two different sizes I've seen. A large size, which is generally for mountain bikes, and a smaller size, which is generally for like hybrids. But you can find them on eBay or other places online. If you can't find them online, wherever you are, I actually have a video where I made a tool like this one, like the small one, out of an old ratchet wrench socket. You could probably make something similar to that, except for the larger size like this. But they're pretty cheap and available, so I would try to find them online. But I'm going to use this to unscrew this. And I wouldn't try to use like pliers or anything like that because you're just going to really play havoc, just wreck the heck out of this part here because it's plastic. And so I got that off. Okay, so now I can push the stacks out, or stack. So just kind of go up here and then lift this out here like this. And looks like it's basically just a spring. I don't know if that's like an elastomer in there, but it's mostly just a spring, I think. Okay, so now I want to remove these lowers here. On the bottom of each of these lowers is a 10mm nut, and so I can use a ratchet wrench with a 10mm socket there. And then down inside here, on each side, there's a bolt, and I can see the bolt head. Now the bolt head is either going to be a 12mm socket or also a 5mm hex socket. Will go down there and fit inside the top of the head of the bolt. But you're going to need a long extension to reach this. And I'm guessing I need to hold that bolt while I loosen the nut on here. Get the ratchet wrench down here and work on loosening this down here. And that actually came off pretty easily. Try this side. And got that side off. Let's see if these lowers will come off. Oh, they do, just like that. So the only thing holding on was those two little nuts down there. Yeah, okay, looking at these bolts to come down out of the uppers, and this is where the nut attached here, and then there's a little thing here, and so I need to unscrew this from here, and it looks like it's supposed to screw all the way up onto where it stops there. This one here was a little bit down, but it might have come off when I was turning the top part a little bit. I'm not sure. But so I'm going to unscrew this. I might need to get the wrench, hold it up from above, and get another wrench down here to unscrew this. This one comes off pretty easily here. And there's a flat side and a kind of curved side. The flat side of the nut faces down, and then pull this off here. And again, there's like a flat little part here with like little dots on it. That faces down. Okay, screw this from the top here. And got this off. And this one's the same thing as the other side. It's flat on the bottom, kind of curved on the top. And this thing is the same thing. It's flat on the bottom, kind of curved on the top. It's got the little marks on the bottom. Now I want to push these bolts out. This tool is actually used for like cleaning guns or stuff, but I picked it up at a garage sale real cheap. And you can use whatever you have, but I can use this to push this out here and push this out here like this. So the drive side, the one with the spring, also had this little rubber cushion. The other side did not, unless it's still down inside the leg somewhere. But it's not down there, so that's all there is. Now inside the lowers, there are some sleeves that can be removed. They kind of snap in. So what you want to do is reach your finger inside, rotate them to one side or the other, and then they should come right out. Just like this. There's a snap right there, and then that aligns with this little slot right down in here. And so you can go ahead, these can be replaced. These wear out, and if you have play in your fork a little bit, go ahead and replace these sleeves with new ones. And then to put them back in, just align this little snap here to the back of the fork and just push it in, and you should hear it snap right in, just like that. Well, here's all the parts from inside the fork. There's really not that much there. The main part is just a spring here, and it looks like there might be an elastomer in there. But I'm going to go ahead and clean these parts up and get ready to put it all back together again. Now for most of the cleaning, I'm just going to use like a degreaser and a rag and a scrub brush and maybe some soap and hot water, and just clean off all the old dirt and grease, and that's pretty much it. Okay, well I got the parts all cleaned up. It didn't take that much. They weren't that dirty or greasy, so very light cleaning, and they're good to go. So now I'm ready to start putting it all back together. Now, as I'm putting all this stuff back together, I want to grease everything up. The grease I'm going to be using is called Slickoleum. You can also know Slick Honey. You also use like Judy Butter or SRAM Butter. You want to use a grease that's specifically designed for use on forks. If you use the wrong kind of grease, it can damage the plastic or rubber parts in there. So Slickoleum is what I generally use. So what I want you to do is put a little bit onto this rubber part here. And there's no rubber part on the other side, but just a little bit of grease on there. Maybe a little bit more than I want, but just put a thin coating on there. And then I'm going to drop this into the drive side here. And then the other side was just the bolt, so I'm going to drop that into the non-drive side there, like that. Then on the bottom of these bolts here, where these little two plastic parts here, the flat side with the little dimples faces down. So I'm just going to slide these up here like this. And then there was these two little nuts here, and these are going to go down on the bottom here, and the flat side faces down, and I'm going to screw these all the way to the top of the threads. Just like that. And then I want to put a thin coating of grease on these upper tubes here like this, and get it all the way around there, all the way to the top to the bottom. And then before I put the lowers on here, I want to put a little bit of grease down around inside these seals at the top, and also on these plastic sleeves down in there. Then I can slide the lowers here. You want to make sure that the fork bridge here is facing front, and then just carefully slide these up here like this, like that. The bolt should come out through the bottom there. It's out through the bottom of this one, and kind of bang on this a little bit, and then the fork bolt is out through the other one here too. Now before I reinstall the nuts, I want to go ahead and put some blue thread locker onto the threads of these bolts down here. And then I go ahead and put these nuts back on. Now I want to put the nuts here on the bottom. To do that, I want to get my ratchet wrench here with the 12mm socket. So I'm going to hold the bolt from the inside of the fork there to keep that from turning, and then hand screw the nut onto the bottom here like this, and then use my little 10mm ratchet wrench here to tighten the nut onto the bottom. Like that. And do it on the other side as well. Like that. Next I'm going to install the spring, so I want to get a healthy coating of grease on the spring here. Again, all the way top to bottom, all the way around. And then get a little bit on these plastic parts here on the top and the bottom. And then I'm going to slide the spring in. There's a kind of a wide open part here that goes to the top, and sort of the smaller diameter part here that goes down because that locks onto the bolt head at the bottom, and this goes into the drive side that it came out of. And then I can push the fork down like that. And then I can install these caps here. The threaded side goes onto the drive side. And then I'll thread this on. Be careful not to cross thread it. Make sure that fork's all the way down. Yeah, so start it off by hand. And then you can use the wrench to screw it on. And then just tighten it till it's tight. Don't overly tighten it because it's plastic thread, so you strip that thing right out. And then the non-drive side here is just a cap, and then that just presses on like that. And now go ahead and wipe off any of the excess grease around the upper tube here. Like that. Now the fork is basically done, but I still need to reconnect the brake and the wheel and everything. So I got the brake here. The cable's going to run to the inside of the fork and then back here. And then I have the two bolts here. I want to put a little bit of thread locker blue on each of the bolts before I install them. And then the brake is going to go here. And I'm not going to tighten it down yet, but I am going to tighten it in some, but I need to adjust it after I get the wheel mounted. So I want to have it to be able to move like that. And then I'm going to secure the cable here to the fork bridge. So I have a zip tie and bring this around here. And this will just help keep the fork or the cable out of the way of the wheel. And then just trim that like that. Now I'm going to remount the wheel here. I want to have the rotor slide into the caliper down here and then get the wheel all tightened on. So now I'm going to go ahead and clamp the brakes down here, and then with the brakes just applied hard, I'm going to tighten these bolts down like this. And then using a beam torque wrench here, I'm going to tighten these down to about 80 to 90 inch pounds. That's inch pounds, not foot pounds, inch pounds. Okay, now to test this, spin the wheel, hit the brakes, and that's working good. And done. And they're moving nice and smoothly here. And so that is how to take these Suntour XCT forks apart, clean them and lube them, and put them all back together. If you have a different type of fork than these, check my fork overhaul playlist. I'll include that in the description of this video. But so what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Hopefully you found this video useful or interesting. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to my channel, click the subscribe button and be sure to click that little bell so you get notified of when new videos come out. I'm over on Facebook, RJ the Bike Guy. Go over there, like that page. I post a ton of stuff over there. And I have a webpage, rjthebikeguy.com. Go check that out too. Thank you very much for watching.